you feel more comfortable there and would like to follow the service in that space. All ages are welcome here, and that welcome extends to the joyful sounds and energies that children bring to our gathering. I'm sure we'll hear more. Coloring kits are available for children and persons of all ages if that is something you would like to engage in. And after the story today that Angie Urban will bring to us, the children will head downstairs for religious education and exploration. For those of you joining us from home, we point to a written order of service on the website that you can follow. You can also use the chat function to converse with your fellow CUC members. And if you have a chalice, you may want to go find that so that you can participate in that important weekly ritual we have here in this space. We also invite everyone to participate in the shared joys and sorrows. Here in the sanctuary, there are cards that you can fill out. Ushers will collect those later. And at home, if you would like to share in joys and sorrows, please send a message to joysandsorrows@uucuc, and we will read those aloud later in the service. Today's theme, From Categorical Thinking to Radical Welcome, begins by acknowledging a central human tendency that all of us share. In childhood, we learn to sort and sift. And if you look at the front of your order of service, you'll see that little child sorting toy that reminds us of how we learn to do that. The process of categorization teaches us names for things and ideas and helps children make meaning of the world. My grandchildren love to gather up matchbox cars, Legos, blocks, art materials to arrange them in rainbow order. And sometimes if I don't get it right, they correct me and say, Nana, that's not rainbow order. In later childhood and adolescence, this sorting and sifting becomes even more consequential in our social worlds as we sort others into in-groups and out-groups, peer circles, friends, acquaintances, partners. And now, in this particular time, we're coming to understand more deeply how this categorization of persons is also influenced by patterns of socialization and by everyone's emergent understandings of race, class, gender, sexual orientation, abilities and disabilities, neurodiversity, political affiliations, and even religious practices. Some of the ways we categorize others become so habitual that we may fail to recognize them in ourselves, although others may feel unseen and unheard accordingly. We may also categorize others on the basis of a single dimension, a single story, rather than seeing them in their fullness. Challenging these tendencies is the point of a workshop called Beyond Categorical Thinking, which is a learning opportunity designed by the Unitarian Universalist Association to promote inclusive thinking and prevent unfair discrimination in the search process for a new minister. So now you'll see the ties to the settled search team. In November, 40 of our members filled out questionnaires to demonstrate their understanding of inclusive identities before participating in a workshop session presented by the facilitators Gil Guerrero and Reverend Donna Dahlham. This morning's service extends that conversation in that our own Jerry Carden, who's a recognized facilitator of BCT workshops, will lead us in considering how categorical thinking can perpetuate harmful stereotypes, even interfering with the kind of relationships we might hope to form with a new settled minister. These conversations challenge our thinking and potentially help us understand our relationships with others. This morning, we invite you to consider what it means to move away from categorical thinking and move toward radical hospitality within our church community and beyond. Whether this is your first Sunday here or your 1,000th, whether you're here in the sanctuary, fellowship hall, or watching from afar, know that you're welcome here. And this service is here for you. We hope that you find something you need on this morning. Our congregation chooses to be in every Sunday with a formal acknowledgement of the indigenous peoples of this land. It's a practice that connects us to the history of this specific place and to our role as stewards and members of a community that extends beyond this present moment. Wherever you are, take a moment to let your mind sink down into the deep history of the place and honor the plants, animals, and persons who belong to it over the millennia. On Green Street, we acknowledge that we worship on the land of the Kaskaskia, Miamia, Bodwamie, Kickapoo, Peoria, and Ochetishakowen. These are communities that still exist today and continue to fight for recognition, self-determination, and preservation of our shared earth. Please pause with me, take a breath, and honor those lives, and hold this as a reminder to support ongoing efforts as best we can, wherever we can. Please join us now in our chalice lighting.
Good morning. I'm Wendy Graves, a member of your search team. There we go. And this is Tanya. She's the flame starter for me. Please join me in the chalice lighting. Out of the flames of fear, we rise with courage of our deepest convictions to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of scrutiny, we rise to proclaim our faith with hope to heal a fractured and hurting world. Out of the flames of doubt, we rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flames of hate, we rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames we rise.
Our first hymn involves you using your ears to learn by ear, such a powerful thing, the refrain of a song that I will sing with you and for you. This morning, I had hoped that I would be able to do a duet with our wonderful MR, but unfortunately they are unable to join us this morning because of that bugs floating around. And so I'll do it as a solo, the verses, but I invite you all to learn the refrain as you hear it. You've already heard it actually because Juan played the melody as the prelude. So we'll do it 5 times, and each time we'll widen the circle of singing as you keep joining in on the refrain, and I'll do the verses. All right, got that? Let's see if this works. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song, no one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. From the still point of the circle, round which all creation turns, nothing lost but held together in our outstretched arms. the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song, no one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. Let our hearts touch far horizons, so encompass great and small. I'm repeating this verse. Let our loving know no borders, faithful to our call. I'm going to go on to the next verse 1. Here's the first 3. Let the dream we dreamed be larger than we ever dreamed before. May a welcome spirit claim us, open every door. It's another coming solo. Draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song, no one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide, draw the circle wide, draw it wider still. Let this be our song, no one stands alone, standing side by side. Draw the circle wide. Now, if the children will come up front, and anyone who feels like a child in their hearts, Angela Irvin is going to share a wonderful story for Time for All Ages.
Would you all like to come over here on this side? And parents, just as a reminder, this is being filmed, so if you'd like the children not to be seen on the film, just make sure they're a little bit further back. Yes, if you don't have a streamer, please, I invite you to get your favorite color. Like a streamer? You've got a purple. You got a blue? Oh yeah. Do you like blue, or would you like a different color? You can get whatever color you'd like. Do you like blue? Would you like to hold that? And you have purple. Can I give you this purple? You can have the streamer too. Oh, I see. I have a. Do I have any? I have an orange. I see orange. Can I give you? Do I have a yellow? Oh, I see a yellow. Do I have a red or a green? You don't need a number. I'm just giving to some people. I see I have a green. Oh, you definitely need a streamer. Everybody needs a streamer. The numbers are not a big deal. Okay. You want to hold a poster? Okay, so these posters that I'm handing out for later, and I'll let you know when we raise the poster. But the streamers, I think we'll get right away. All right. Wow, we have a lot of folks up here, so thank you so much. It's totally okay. The streamer is the main show. You'll see. So I don't know if you've heard of this book, but it's called One by Catherine Hitoshi. Now, when I say your color, if you feel so inclined, you can use your streamer, and those in the audience as well. You can just raise it up. You can practice if you'd like, yeah. Practice. It feels good kind of to raise your arms and have some movement. All right, so I think we all know how. That was a practice. Okay. Blue was a quiet color. He enjoyed looking up at the sky floating on the waves. And on days he felt daring, splashing in rain puddles. Every once in a while, he wished he could be more sunny, like yellow. Where's our yellows? Or bright, like green. Where's our greens? More regal, like purple. Or outgoing, like orange. But overall, he liked being blue. Except when he was with Red. Red was a hothead. He liked to pick on Blue. Red is a great color, he'd say. Red is hot. Blue is not. Then Blue would feel bad about being blue. Sometimes Yellow comforted Blue. But Yellow never said that in front of Red. She never said, "Stop picking on Blue." Green, purple, and orange thought blue was nice too. Here's all the colors. But they never told Red to stop either. Every time Red said something mean and no one spoke up, he got bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, there's our Red. Look how big he is. Soon, Red grew so big that everyone was afraid of him. No one dared to stop him. Red picked on all the colors. Where's all the colors? Then everyone felt a little blue in their blues. Until one came. Show your wand. You can throw it the backside of you too if you want. He had a different color. He had a different shape with bold strokes and square corners. He was funny. He made the colors laugh. Red saw this and got very hot. "Stop laughing," he told Yellow. "Stop laughing," he told Green. "Stop laughing," he told Purple and Orange. And they did. Red rolled up to one. Here's our one. "Stop laughing," he told him. But one stood up straight like an arrow and said, "No." Red was mad, but one wouldn't budge. So Red rolled away. One turned to the other colors and said, "If someone is mean and picks on me, I, for one, stand up and say no. Then Yellow, where's Yellow? Felt brave and said, me too. Where's my number 2? Oh, there it is. Green agreed and said, me 3. Where's my number 3? Then Purple became 4. And Orange became 5. Blue saw the colors change. He wanted to count. Red grew red hot. He felt left out. He grew hotter and hotter and hotter. Red raced over to Blue and said what he always did. Red is hot. Blue is not. But this time, Blue stood up tall and became 6. Red can be really hot, he said, but Blue can be super cool. Red blew a fuse and tried to roll over Blue. But everyone took a stand and said no. Seeing them standing tall made Red feel very, very, very small. Then Red turned even redder and began rolling away. Blue called out, "Can Red be hot and Blue be cool?" Red stopped in his tracks. "Red can count too," said one. Red rocked and rolled and turned into 7. "Everyone counts," they shouted. Then Red laughed and joined in the fun. And that, my friends, sometimes just takes one person. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. You can put it back if you'd like, or you can print it. You're welcome either way. You can take it home if you'd like, yeah. And I think that we are inviting the children now to go downstairs if they would like. Parents.
Good morning. My name is Chris Hanauer. I'm here with our Community Matters this morning. We, as Unitarian Universalists, acknowledge that we are part of the sacred web of life, the web of our connections with each other, with the wider community, and with the world. There will be no OWL meeting tonight. Our guest speaker is ill. Today is the 50th anniversary of the Roe versus Wade decision that legalized abortion in the United States. To commemorate that sadly now historic decision, this Thursday, January 26th at 5:15 p.m., we will be playing host here at the church to a watch party of content provided by Grandmothers for Reproductive Rights, appropriately abbreviated GRR. We are calling on all musicians, dancers, poets, storytellers, actors, writers, and other artistic folk. The Music Committee is joining efforts with the Generosity Committee to host our first hybrid coffeehouse variety show Generosity Kickoff event on Saturday, February 11th, 2023, here at the church, and it will also be online. We need your time and talents to make this a reality, so please sign up to perform, either live at the church or to submit a pre-recorded performance video. The sign-up link can be found on the church website. Just search for the word coffee. I did that, I tested it, it works. Or in your most recent e-news bulletin. Each Sunday, we share half of our Sunday offering with an organization in alignment with our UU values. Appropriately, during January, we are supporting the Chicago Abortion Fund. The Chicago Abortion Fund provides financial, logistical, and emotional support to people seeking abortion care in Illinois and the Midwest. The Chicago Abortion Fund is the major abortion fund in the Midwest and is also our local fund, supporting patients at the Champaign Clinic who come from Illinois and increasingly from other states. We will now have a short video on our religious education and engagement program, and then the offering will be received.
I'm Laura Breeze Troyer, and I've been a member of the church for the last 13 years. And I'm a member of the REE Council. I'm currently a co-chair with Kelly Halcomb, and I also have 3 children in the church. So under religious exploration and
Thank you for your generosity expressed in this and so many other ways. And also, I have been informed that the GRR watch party will not be taking place in the church, unfortunately. No one from the group was able to attend. So just wanted to get that out there.
Good morning. I'm Pat McClard. I'm a member of the search team. This is The Church Has Left the Building by Margaret Weiss. The church is not a place, it is a people. The church is not only a steeple above the tree line, streets and cars. Rather, it is a people proclaiming to the world that we are here for the work of healing and of justice. The church is not walls, built stone upon stone, held together by mortar, but rather person linked with person, linked with person, all ages and gender identities and abilities. A community built on the foundation of reason, faith, and love. The church is not just a set of doors open on Sunday morning, but the commitment day after day and moment after moment of our hearts creaking open the doors of welcome to the possibility of new experience and radical welcome. The church is not simply a building, a steeple, a pew. The church is the gathering together of all people and experiences, and fear and love and hope in our resilient hearts, gathering however we can to say to the world, welcome, come in, lay down your heartache and pick up hope and love. For the church is us, each and every one of us together, a beacon of hope to this world that so sorely needs it.
each Sunday, we make space to share the joys and sorrows that are close to our hearts, both the joys and the sorrows that we carry ourselves, and in respect for the joys and sorrows that others carry. Let them rise to the surface, and if you would want to complete a card that will be read aloud after we sing our blessing song, please do that, as well as I will read the ones from email. You can use your phone or write, whatever the case may be. We're going to sing our blessing song now, May the Longtime Sun, and then we'll gather together and hold these joys and sorrows in our hearts. Shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure, pure light that's within you guide your way home. May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure, pure light that's within you guide your way home. A concern from Kelly Halcomb. Today is Trans Prisoner Day of Action and Solidarity. Lack of appropriate medical care and housing are two of the ways that incarcerated trans individuals are dehumanized every day in our country. Very few out of the thousands of trans prisoners are housed according to their gender, and receiving gender-affirming care is a rarity. May we remember them in our work for justice and equality everywhere. From Katie Goslin. Today, I celebrate the joy of officially joining UCUC after many years of attending virtually, participating in Soul Matters, and learning about what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. Katie, we're so glad. Yay. From Sam Bashirs, special thanks and appreciation for Steve Troyer and Chris Hanauer for their sound system and video recording work that allowed the UU Band to record our coffee house performance yesterday. From Barbara Hudgens. Happy Chinese New Year to Bao, daughter-in-law, Jade, and Asia, granddaughter. And from Beth S., I had two people visit me, Chris Risto and Sam Hack. They were the first people to come to visit after last year. They are the best. And I have a special reading that Reverend KB has sent to us on this particular day. It follows what Chris said about the Supreme Court decision. This is KB's message to us. Each year since 1973, abortion rights activists have gathered on this weekend, on this day, January 22nd, for Roe versus Wade Day, to celebrate the Supreme Court decision that granted a constitutional right to abortion. But now, 50 years later, Roe versus Wade Day will be different. the first anniversary of Roe since this ruling was overturned. And so on this day, and all the days moving forward, let us proclaim and vigorously defend these rights. People have a right to have children and to choose when. People have a right not to have children. People have a right to raise their children in safe and healthy environments. People have a right to health and self-determination regarding their bodies and sexuality, free from oppression and shame. Whatever choices we might make for our own bodies, our own lives, the freedom to chart the course of our own reproductive life is sacred and is an essential human right. Together, let us keep fighting to push the government back out of the private lives of every woman and person, and every person in this country, and empower and resource each one's right to their own private and personal choices of both when to conceive and when to carry a pregnancy to full term. Reproductive rights are human rights. May the day dawn soon in our lifetime that no one anywhere will ever again be terrorized by lack of choice and power over their own reproductive health in their own precious life. May it be so, from the Reverend Katie. Thank you for these concerns, these joys, these calls for us to enlarge our hearts in response to our worlds and in embracing those in our environments who need our care.
Most of you know me. Some of you don't, especially if you're a newcomer or a visitor this morning. But I am Jerry Carden. My pronouns are he, him. And Janet shared earlier a little bit about the November workshop that Gil Guerrero and Reverend Donna Dolham provided for 40 of our congregants. And I am here today as a fellow Beyond Categorical Thinking leader. It's just that they don't want you to lead the workshop for your own people. So I stepped aside and actually I participated, and it's always nice to watch somebody else teach the information that, oh, thank you. It's always nice to watch somebody else teach the information that you also go out and teach. You get new ideas, and I'm sure that those of you that are educators understand that concept. So it was decided that instead of doing the worship service the same weekend as the Beyond Categorical Thinking workshop, that we would spread it out a little bit and bring that message back, and we would be reaching a wider audience to have our Sunday service associated with the workshop in this time of the search process. So I became a facilitator for the Beyond Categorical Thinking workshops. My initial training was in 2001. And 2 persons from these categories are usually sent to lead the 3-hour workshop and also provide the Sunday morning message. The goal of the worship service is to share the main message of the workshop with the broader community. Before conducting a workshop with a congregation, I would always find out their dreams and aspirations first, and then discuss the desired profile and characteristics for the new minister. At the time the workshop and sermon is usually done, they haven't really done their survey yet, so they don't really have their profile settled. But because that's been 2 months ago, our profile has been developed. Thank you for all of your input and your help in determining that profile with the survey and the cottage meetings. Those processes were how our search team discerned that ideal profile for our next minister. I should say senior minister. The profile and packet was then shared with the UUA and released to those ministers who are currently in search. The ministers looked over our materials and the ideal profile, then decided whether they would like to apply to us. Did we look attractive to them? Did we fit the profile of how they see themselves as being a minister? Kind of like a dating process. So, from what I understand, applications are currently being reviewed and deciding on who to interview. So if your search team seems scarce or are declining invitations, it's not that they are relaxing somewhere. They are doing the good work of finding the best match and helping provide the service this morning. Now check out this week's e-news if you haven't yet. The e-news this week shares more details and includes a link to those survey results. Having served on the ministerial search team for Reverend Florence Kaplow, I fully appreciate the work and dedication involved to ascertain that best match. For visitors and more recent members and friends, Reverend Kaplow had to step down from her role due to health concerns, which serves as one of our reminders in this program that we are hiring a real live person, not an automaton or a robot. In a sermon to the Marin, California congregation, Reverend John Behrens, who served as the UUA president from 1993 to 2001, told that congregation to not expect a Messiah or someone who walks on water. So what is categorical thinking? Think of it this way. You've just met someone new. Do we make snap judgments of people, first from appearance, voice, mannerisms, clothing? Then, as we learn more snippets of information, our mind goes to 1,000 other impressions, those things we make up about someone else. Another word for this is stereotypes, which are categories or boxes we tend to put people in when we first meet, and then we learn more about them and sometimes realize those stereotypes don't hold. They often don't hold. And sometimes we are surprised. For my example, in the LGBTQ plus world, we don't like to admit it. We often rely on stereotypes of others, what it means to be gay, bisexual, transgender, non-binary, but also to be a heterosexual, married man or woman, to be a heterosexual, unmarried man or woman, to be of another race, to be someone that is a different ethnicity, someone that is differently abled, or living in recovery from alcohol or other drugs, living with depression. The list of categories is endless, as we know. And our perceptions are always based on our previous life experiences. When people learn that I'm in when I say nearly 40, it's nearly 41 years now, relationship with Tim, my husband, they assume that he and I both identify as gay. Technically, according to the Kinsey scale, if you're familiar with that, we're both bisexual. And I've started being more open about that because it's one of the most misunderstood identities outside of transgender or non-binary identification. When our church did our demographic survey for our ministerial search back in 2016/17, I was surprised to learn that 7% of our congregation defined themselves as bisexual. The number for gay men at that point was not even 1%. The most recent survey lumps gay male and lesbians together. And since we have a lot more lesbian identified persons, that combined number jumps to 10%. I don't know why that is, but here we are. So back to the main topic. and how categorical thinking affected my life. Now, a few months ago, when we were doing a service on the history of HIV/AIDS, I shared quite a history of how that affected me. I'm not going to go through all that again, so rest assured. I'm going to give a very quick overview of how the categorical thinking of society, I allowed that to color my impressions of who I should be at several different points in my life. The dice toss of the universe found me born to a long line of farmers, and I consider that background to be a blessing, at least now I do. That background nearly killed me. It was the stereotypes of groups that almost killed me. I allowed those stereotypes to define what I thought it meant to be a real man, especially as a farm boy. I knew from an early age that I was attracted to men, and also sensed that it was not a good thing to never let anyone know. I threw myself into the hard labor entailed in farming, but I suppressed my true desires and interests in the arts, theater, and in playing the piano so as not to be called a sissy or Nancy boy. I also made myself go out for football and other sports that I mostly found totally insane. But I did it anyway. Because God forbid someone think me less than a real man. I hid who I truly was for so long, I lost my sense of self. Drinking became a solace and another way to fit in with the farm boy vibe. Thank goodness for our small town in Iowa, a very small school. My graduating class was 46 people. We had an excellent band, and the football boys and well, not football girls at that point, but the athletes also participated in the band. So that was not suspect. So I put all of my interest in playing the trombone, and that was my salvation. I was in all the different groups. As high school wore on, I was giving into the reality that I was probably homosexual. The only gay persons I saw on TV were the stereotypes in the 60s and 70s. They were being interviewed for news programs. They were blacked out, and their voices were changed so that you couldn't understand who that was, and you wouldn't know who it was talking. Not very positive as an image. The only others I saw were very swishy and very feminine, the typical gay stereotype. I forced myself to attend an evangelical church where I was told I could pray away the gay, which eventually led to an attempted suicide. After that, I went into numb mode. Stopped attending that Jesus Saves church and descended into more drinking and casual sex. I put off thinking about it until college, because how could I know if I was gay for sure if I hadn't had sex with men or women yet? I came out in college, quickly found my life being taken over by a very domineering professor of voice, 11 years my senior. We became lovers. He and many of his friends exemplified some of the typical gay male stereotypes. I still felt like an outsider, a farm boy amongst all these musicians and intellectuals. They had all the right clothes, witty comments, and trivia about popular culture and knowledge of classical music. So I did what I thought all gay men did, based on the stereotyped images I'd seen of gay life. I became the entertainer, I drank way too much, switched from the beer of my farm boy days to scotch, gin, and vodka, eventually with daily drinking. I did lots of carousing in many ways. And now I realize that it was the booze that hid the pain and also helped me fit in with this older professor crowd. A few years after college, I met my husband, Tim. I found AA and sobriety, all in 1981. If not for those events, I would be dead now from AIDS and/or alcoholism. It was 1981 when we began learning about the odd diseases popping up among gay men, known as HIV/AIDS. My behaviors those prior 6 years put me at high risk. AA and my true friends there kept me alive. In AA, I discovered my true self, began pursuing my true interests, and ignored the societal cues as to how I should behave or what I should be interested in as a gay/bisexual male. So think of the ways that you've allowed the societal boxes or categories to hem you in at different times or even now. Are you still doing that? Or are you letting your true self shine through? Be true to your own uniqueness and appreciate the uniqueness in others, including our ministerial candidates. A few years back, we began hearing the concept of radical welcome, meaning that we truly determine what it means to be welcoming to everyone. To everyone who comes to build community with us and to seek inspiration. Remember our mission statement? Sometimes we need to be radically welcoming to ourselves and who we feel within to be called to be. No matter what categories of characteristics a person might exhibit, radical welcome means assuming that everyone that's in the room is supposed to be there. One example of being radically welcome is during our fellowship time after the service. And this was a practice that we instituted at the time, and I think we've kind of lost sight of it, but here it goes. If you see someone you don't recognize, especially we're milling around after the service in the lobby, in fellowship hall, or they have a paper name tag, stop the conversation you are having with that longtime friend or associate and say, time out, and go to speak with that person. Get to know them, ask questions. Ask if they have questions about our congregation, about you. It's a practice that's easy for me since I tend to be a people person and like meeting new folks. Now that's not everyone, but find ways that you can draw in our newcomers and long-timers for that matter and help us become more radically inclusive. That radical welcome should be not just for people in our pews, but for anyone that our search team invites as a candidate to become our next settled minister. Being willing to be educated, that even when you encounter identity categories you might not understand, that's how that person wants to be in the world. That's radical hospitality. Now, in interest of time, I had a story about a friend of mine here in Champaign-Urbana that decided that they had lived, and I'm going to summarize that story, but this person is part of a group that I facilitate on Sunday afternoons for a group called Aging Up, which is a support group for people in my age category that identify as LGBTQ. And when I first saw this person pop up on the screen, I thought, oh, another guy. Well, I found out that that guy, who goes by Robbie, and she, her pronouns, was somebody that was very comfortable as a 74-year-old person in identifying now as a woman. Since 3 years old, Robbie had felt that flame within and tramped it down inside and became the butch person that Robbie felt the world wanted her to be, and all kinds of butch jobs, served in Vietnam in combat roles, and decided that at age 74, I am going to be who I really feel I am, and has come out as a woman, has gone through the name change process. And the sad thing is that Robbie and her wife, and the wife has been accepting, and there's a little bit more to the story, they have been longtime attendees at a Methodist church in town. I'm not going to name names, but a church that proclaims itself to be welcoming and affirming. And when Robbie showed up to church in a skirt, Robbie was asked to leave. Now, this went on for some time, and I kept telling Robbie, come check us out. And I was crossing my fingers and hoping that people are going to be okay with this, because Robbie owns up to the fact that she appears more as a man than a woman. But she doesn't care. She's a woman inside, and that's her. And what I really have been pleased with is that all the other people on the screen or that have met Robbie have all been very affirming of the situation that she is in. So after some time, I determined, knowing Robbie's religious convictions as being more Christian-oriented, I suggested the United Church of Christ on campus, which Robbie and her wife has been going to now happily, And they're going to have a name changing for Robbie next month. So one of these Sundays I'll be going over there to help celebrate Robbie's name change. So radical welcoming does make a difference. And we need to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to provide that radical welcome to everyone. Remember that we're hiring a person to lead our congregation, not a robot with all the perfect skills possible required of a minister. And to remember that we need to do what we can to be of assistance to them. They won't be strong in all tasks. Ask them how you can help them grow. Encourage them to be honest with you about the areas they would like to grow in. Develop a true partnership with them. Most importantly, learn how to have constructive conflict with each other as members, but also with your minister. Don't hide your disagreements. That is poison. We need to be able to speak up and talk about those things that we don't understand or those things that we are struggling with. Our ministers, once hired, are still fallible people, learning their own way and becoming their best selves. If we disagree with something, we owe it to them and to other congregants to not take our views on the circuit behind their back. Bring it forward and discuss. We can always learn new things, new ways of being in covenant with others, if we allow ourselves to follow a simple strategy that was shared in that BCT workshop by Gil Guerrero. Gil presented or explained the window of tolerance, and his emphasis was that we avoid reducing anyone, including our ministerial applicants, to a single story. He used an acronym, PALS. Pause, ask, listen, and remember we all have more problems listening than we do talking, at least I do. Share our own story, PALS. Pause, ask, listen, share our stories. This will remind us and others to respond with grace and care to human differences. May we all strive and learn to be better pals for one another. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sherry. We so deeply appreciate your message. Our last hymn today is hymn 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People. What a wonderful phrase. And if you're like me and still love to sing out of hymnals with it in your hand, following the words in the hymnal, which I love to do, note that Holly Neer, the singer-songwriter, has recommended that we change one of the verses, verse 5, from we are gay and straight together to we are all in this together. That will be up on the screen. But if you're following the book, please note. Thank you. Rise as you feel able to do so, or participate in a way that is comfortable for you. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives.
Hi, I'm Tanya Hodges, and this is Wholeness by Sharon Wiley. We speak so often of brokenness in religious life. Let us speak today of wholeness. You are welcome here, all of you. Every part of you, beautiful, just the way you are. Here, you do not need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding. No exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent worth and dignity, nothing to prove here. Nothing to prove to me or the person sitting next to you or to the children or to anyone. You don't have to try and be witty, more quiet, or more outgoing. You are beautiful, every part of you, beautiful just the way you are. You do not need to change anything about yourself to be welcome here. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, all beautiful just the way they are. You are extraordinary, each and every one of you, different from each and beautiful in your own beautiful way. Breathtaking. Let us go forth together.
Now join Tanya and me here in the sanctuary, and if you have a chalice at home, let's read together our chalice extinguishing. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you.